In a stunning twist that has sent shockwaves through global markets and diplomatic circles, India has outmaneuvered the United States to secure one of South Africa's most coveted gold trade and refining deals, a move that has the entire world watching closely. How did a South Asian powerhouse manage to win against one of the most influential economic giants on Earth? And what does this deal mean for the future of Africa's resources, the balance of global trade, and the emerging alliances shaping the 21st century? Stay tuned, because in this in-depth investigation, we'll uncover the real story behind this groundbreaking gold deal, how India positioned itself as a trusted partner to South Africa, why the U.S. was left behind, and how this agreement could redraw the map of global power across Asia and Africa. This is more than just a trade win. This is a symbol of a new era, the rise of the global South. Welcome to Iazicho Africa, where we bring you powerful stories shaping Africa's future and its growing alliances across the world. For more than a century, South Africa has stood as one of the world's richest lands of gold. From the discovery of gold in the Witwatersrand Basin in the late 19th century to becoming one of the largest gold producers globally, this precious metal has shaped South Africa's economy, politics, and even its place in global history. Gold built Johannesburg, literally known as the City of Gold. It financed industries, attracted global investors, and made South Africa a cornerstone of the world's mining landscape. But over the last 2 decades, the gold industry began to shift. Declining reserves, aging mines, and environmental challenges forced South Africa to look beyond extraction. It needed refining partnerships, modern technologies, and new export markets, especially as China and the United States fought for dominance in Africa as resource trade. That's when India quietly entered the picture. Unlike Western powers, India's approach was subtle. It didn't come with lectures, sanctions, or complex political demands. Instead, it offered collaboration, sharing expertise in refining, digital trade, and value-added processing. When the South African government announced it was opening bids for a new strategic gold refining and export deal, the world took notice. The U.S. expected to win easily. After all, American companies had deep mining ties in Africa. But India was preparing something extraordinary behind the scenes. India has long been one of the largest consumers of gold globally. Gold is more than an investment there. It's part of the nation's culture, festivals, and identity. In 2024 alone, India imported over 800 tons of gold, making it one of the top global buyers. However, India's dependence on raw imports made it vulnerable to price volatility and foreign market manipulation. So, policymakers in New Delhi began pushing for direct partnerships with resource-rich nations. Their strategy was simple yet brilliant. Instead of buying gold from middlemen in Europe or Dubai, India would go straight to the source, forming alliances in Africa to ensure stable, ethical, and long-term gold supply chains. Through its diplomatic initiative called India-Africa Growth Partnership 2030, India had already built trade networks across Kenya, Ethiopia, Tanzania, and Ghana. But South Africa was the crown jewel, a major BRICS partner, resource-rich, and geopolitically strategic. When the gold deal opportunity emerged, India moved fast. A team from the Indian Ministry of Commerce working with private sector players like MMTCPMP and Tata Precious Metals submitted a proposal not just for gold importation, but for building a new gold refining and digital traceability facility in Johannesburg. This wasn't just business. It was technology transfer, job creation, and economic empowerment, something the United States had overlooked. The Indian plan promised establishment of a state-of-the-art gold refinery capable of processing 100 tons annually, joint ownership between Indian investors and South African mining cooperatives, training programs for local workers and youth, integration of blockchain-based gold traceability systems to combat smuggling and ensure transparency. South Africa saw value in this. It wasn't just selling gold. It was building a partnership that aligned with its post-apartheid vision of economic inclusion and industrial growth. When the South African Parliament reviewed both offers, the U.S. proposal focused heavily on profit and control, while the Indian proposal emphasized mutual benefit and shared development. The result? India won, and the shockwaves were felt from Washington to Wall Street. The announcement made international headlines. Global analysts described it as a new chapter in South-South cooperation. The U.S. State Department expressed disappointment over the decision, citing strategic concerns. Behind the scenes, American mining corporations were stunned. They had assumed their decades-long influence in Africa was unshakable. China, meanwhile, watched closely. Beijing had been expanding its own presence across Africa's mining sectors. But India's success demonstrated something new, a diplomatic finesse that combined economic partnership with cultural respect. African commentators praised the deal, saying it reflected a shift in global power. For decades, Africa's resources had been extracted and exported with minimal benefit to the continent. But India's model promised something more sustainable: value addition within Africa, technology transfer, and local empowerment. Even European financial newspapers ran headlines like, "India rewrites Africa's resource playbook." Social media exploded across Africa and Asia, celebrating the move as a win for the global South. But beyond the excitement, there were serious implications. This deal wasn't just about gold. It was about influence, diplomacy, and the battle for the future of global trade systems. Experts estimate that the gold partnership between India and South Africa could generate over $4 billion annually in trade value. But the deeper impact lies in the new economic ecosystems it creates. For South Africa, this deal brings new technology and infrastructure investments, thousands of jobs in refining, logistics, and digital trade, increased revenue from local processing rather than raw exports. For India, the benefits are equally significant: stable and ethical gold supply chains, a chance to become a global refining hub, reducing dependence on Western intermediaries, strengthened geopolitical alliances across the BRICS bloc. This also plays into India's digital gold initiative, an effort to modernize its bullion trade through blockchain and electronic trading systems. By linking with South Africa, India can back its digital gold reserves with real, traceable African gold, a game-changer for the global bullion market. Economists call it a masterstroke of South-South economics. Beyond economics, this deal symbolizes a new geopolitical reality. For decades, Africa was seen as a playing field for Western and Chinese influence. Now, India is rising as a third major partner, one focused on collaboration rather than control. New Delhi's success in South Africa strengthens its voice within BRICS, where both nations already share membership with Brazil, Russia, and China. Together, India and South Africa now hold more leverage in shaping trade policies, gold pricing mechanisms, and regional industrialization strategies. Analysts say this move could inspire a wave of resource-based alliances between India and other African states. Talks are reportedly underway with Ghana, Zimbabwe, and Namibia, all rich in gold and mineral wealth. For the United States, the message is clear: global power is shifting. Economic partnerships can no longer be dictated by traditional Western dominance. India's approach, respectful, mutually beneficial, and culturally aligned, is resonating across the continent. Across Africa, the Indian deal with South Africa is being celebrated as a model for future cooperation. Unlike colonial-era trade models, where resources were extracted and profits left the continent, India's proposal builds capacity within Africa. It includes joint research, youth training, and regional integration. African nations are realizing they can negotiate from a position of strength, balancing partnerships with India, China, and Western nations to achieve their own development goals. This also ties into the African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA, the world's largest free trade zone by membership. India has been a strong supporter of AfCFTA's vision to unite Africa's 1.3 billion consumers. By securing South Africa's gold deal, India has effectively positioned itself as Africa's partner of trust, not just for trade, but for technology, education, and innovation. The story of how India stunned the world by winning South Africa's gold deal over the United States is more than a headline. It is a historic turning point. It represents the rise of new alliances that are rewriting the rules of global power. It's a story of strategy over strength, diplomacy over dominance, and partnership over pressure. For India, this deal signals its arrival as a serious global economic player, one capable of competing with traditional powers. For South Africa, It marks a bold step toward inclusive growth and industrial transformation. And for Africa as a whole, it's proof that the continent is no longer a background in world affairs. It's becoming a central stage. As nations across the global south forge deeper bonds of trust, trade, and technology, the old power structures are being replaced by something new, a shared vision of prosperity built on equality and respect. The world may have been shocked, but for those watching closely, this was inevitable. The dawn of a new global order driven by cooperation between emerging powers. You've been watching Iazicho Africa, your home for stories that define Africa's role in shaping the world's future. If you found this analysis insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep reports from across the continent and beyond. Iazicho Africa, the voice of Africa rising.